America's Mayor live, and we are in the live free or die state, otherwise known as New Hampshire. I love that. Every time I try to because I move around a lot, right? Every time I try to remind myself of where I am and I'm in New Hampshire, I say that, and I get energized. I think enervated is not a word. Energized. I get energized. Like I want to go fight for my country. Well, President went to the Knicks game last night, and they're making a big deal about the fact that he got booed. A bigger deal than the fact that he's right now defending America by hitting Iran back for Iran's, attempt of a fourth-rate military whatever attempt to take down one of our helicopters, in which the pilots were saved within 2 hours, and we didn't even have to put a manned ship on the sea to save them. We were able to do it with for the first time ever, a non-manned, automatically driven boat. Screw you, Iran. And I have to say this just as a general principle, editorial principle. It's time to take the regime of terror out. Do you know when I first said that? I don't know, probably 46, 45 years ago. When they all fled Iran with the Shah, it turned out that I ended up representing a few people that were Iranians who fled with him. One, a very, very, very wealthy Iranian. And I have to tell you what I learned then and what I learned about what was going to happen. I have never understood why before Donald Trump, an American president didn't just go take that regime out and send it off to where they want to go, up to what they call it paradise. We call it heaven. They claim they're going to get 72 to 79, or in some cases, depending on the interpretation and translation of the Quran, large numbers of virgins. I doubt it, but okay. But if they really believe that, why don't we send them there? Well, okay. So we'll go over that in a little while. But first, I want to tell you that the House passed the immigration package of $70 billion for ICE and for border enforcement. Oh, thank you. And of course, we probably have some Republican defectors. We can point them out if you want, but you probably can figure them out. In any event, I think it has now passed the House and the Senate in complete form, meaning it doesn't have to be reconciled anymore. And it should be on the way to President Trump's desk. I predict, this is a really tough prediction. I wonder what kind of odds he'd get for this one. Stephen moved here, so now he's confusing me. So Stephen, who's an expert on this, what kind of odds do you get on one of these betting things that Trump is going to sign it? Would anybody bet against Trump signing this? Is there some moron in America that would bet against Trump signing the immigration bill?
Have you seen how the people are in our country? Of course, there's someone out there.
Good. Well, some sucker is going to give money to Playtime or whatever the name of those things are.
That's the president, of course. The mayor's being a little facetious.
President's going to probably stay up until 4 a.m. to sign it.
Yeah, right,
If I know President Trump, my old friend.
Right, that's right.
We should call him about 4 o'clock this morning, see if he's awake. Because if he's awake, he answers his phone.
Right.
Not that I haven't done it.
Right. You're absolutely right. So, yes, the House passed a $70 billion bill to fund ICE, Border Patrol, and other immigration agencies.
So now they're fighting over Pfizer. And you know why they're fighting over Pfizer? Because everybody has misused Pfizer in a way in which I was taught you shouldn't do almost the day it was passed. way back. Now, it wasn't passed, it was actually implemented as a matter of executive order by Attorney General Edward Levy. And then it became law under Carter. And here was the trick with it, right? This was a very, very extraordinary power reaching pretty deep into our constitutional protections, meant for foreigners and meant for national security protection. We didn't allow any dispute of it. So So if I wanted to if I wanted to wire up Fyodor Chupalupa from Russia, right, and he was a Russian spy, I could do that. I had to get a warrant from a judge from the FISA court, special judges, but nobody got to respond to that warrant. So I could put it in anything I wanted. But if I was an honest, decent person, I'd put in only things that I had clearly corroborated and was absolutely confident they were true. The Obama people and the Biden people completely disregarded all that. And they started using it for political purposes. I think even to go after me. And before they tried to go after me and frame me for crimes, when I first started to represent Trump. So now there's a real dispute as to whether to reauthorize Pfizer under new guidelines that have been made much stricter. But look, believe me, the guidelines are great, and I support reauthorizing Pfizer. But the truth is, if an administration is disloyal, dishonest, and anti-American, they can violate this thing completely. This relies on the most basic kind of integrity that any American would have. And until maybe Obama, but certainly for sure Biden, there was never an issue with Pfizer. The guys who I started Pfizer, I hired the first group of lawyers who enforced Pfizer. One of them is Joe DeGenova, who you guys know. Oh God, they were so good about honesty. So we're having trouble getting it reauthorized. If we lose it, we lose a tool to protect us against China, against Iran, against Russia, and against the Muslim extremists or the Muslims who really believe that the Quran should be followed, because they'll all get an advantage and the tools that we're using to cover them will be lost. I used them extensively. I used them as Associate Attorney General. I used them as United States Attorney, and I relied on them as a mayor through the terrorism task force of the police department and the FBI together. And I would have to remind myself of things that I've long forgotten, of how many times it saved the city. Do you know why I forgot them? Well, I really haven't, but I was trained by the CIA the first time I left Washington, that the best way to make certain that you do not violate the crime or the prohibition or the moral imperative, that you not give away the secrets of the United States, is to try as best you can to forget them. I tried. Because of my mother, I am blessed with an unbelievable memory. Not total. There are things I forget, thank God. But if you tell me to forget it, then I probably don't. But I don't reveal them. You'd have to torture me to get me to do it. Which is why I find these people who get away with revealing classified information abominable. Even though I believe that classified information is overdone, and you're just not going to get respect for it unless you use it for the really most important things. Well, President Trump attended the Knicks game last night, and he was booed. So what? Politicians get booed at sporting events all the time. I think they get booed at Shea Stadium forever. You know, I used to get booed in Shea Stadium because I was a Yankee fan. And they voted for me more in Queens where the Met fans are. And they supported me more in Nassau County where the Met fans are than they did in Manhattan and the Bronx where the Yankee fans were.
Well,
So-
I have to say too, the hoity-toity people who can afford the $8,000 tickets, you know, maybe they don't like all of President Trump's policies of looking out for like the middle class people, right?
Nah, it's like everybody next to you is going to applaud for you if you boo for him. So you boo for him. It's not even, I don't even think it's, half the people there don't even know who President Trump is.
Actually, and you know what it is?
Half of them, they think he's President Obama or Bush or President Washington.
A lot of people just instinctively boo when like their comrades are booing, right? So they don't even know what they're yelling.
Who is
about.
that next to him? Is that Jimmy Dolan? My friend Jimmy Dolan. Yeah, I only recognize Jimmy because of the pink jacket. There's Steve,
What's his honorific?
and there is his absolutely gorgeous granddaughter.
Hi, Trump.
Yeah, what an incredible lady she is.
Oh yeah, great golfer.
Oh, but great person too. I follow her a bit online, and she is just a great person. She can be a hell of a woman. I mean, she is a woman, I guess. I don't know if she's still a teenager. Or...
Young woman.
I tell you, Jimmy Dolan, the president of the Knicks, has been through a lot, up and down, up and down, up and down. But what a great story! And at some point, Jimmy, if you ever get a tape of this, listen to me. You should get a really good biographer or do it yourself and explain your transition and how you've come to being just an unbelievably creative human being. You had some troubles and difficulties you had to get through, which is what makes a truly great creative person like you. This is the guy who built that thing in Las Vegas. Jimmy Dolan, the guy who owns the Knicks and the Rangers in Madison Square Garden.
Who he built the sphere?
You damn right he did. Built it. It was his. It was his in this brain. Boop, boop, boop. His brain, not mine. His.
Oh, the sphere is incredible.
That's why Trump respects him so. I mean, Trump respects him because Trump, first of all, Trump's dad and his dad were great friends. His dad is one of the creators. Jimmy's Dolan's dad is one of the creators of cable television. He owned Cablevision.
Oh,
originally.
see, world-changing stuff, right?
Now,
And
he's the guy. He did cable all over America. All over. He was doing cable because before anybody knew what cable
So
was.
where was he?
That's his dad.
Where were they?
From Long Island.
Long Island.
From
Okay.
Long Island.
But yeah, the sphere is just so.
And then
cool.
eventually in the 90s, they bought the Knicks. And they bought Madison Square Garden because Madison Square Garden couldn't afford the rates to get on Cablevision. So they just said, well, let me just buy it and we'll put it on Cablevision.
It's one of our assets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Mayor, to transition because we're about to have a special guest and we want to be.
Please.
I know she's on the.
I love special guests. I love all guests.
On scene. But we're, of course, covering the trial of this young man.
Oh, Carmelo Anthony.
Carmelo
When I hear that,
Anthony.
I think of a New York Knicks great basketball player.
I
But
know.
Right.
oof,
So, unfortunately,
there's Brianna.
she's not on yet, but we're setting up the
Brianna
story.
is the. If you don't watch Brianna, you're not watching.
Well, we want to get.
You're not
folks-
watching. You're not watching.
Right.
So to bring everyone up to speed.
So
right,
this thing,
is-
well, we'll have Brianna tell us the facts here because this
We'll
is
set
like a
it up.
law school class. The
Yeah,
first thing the
set it-
professor says is, "Tell me the facts." Somebody stands up. Then you get something wrong. You say, "Sit down."
we were going over this earlier, just like it was a law school class with you, and it's
With me?
like
Yeah.
so, and it more of actually, it wouldn't be a law school class; it'd be more of a first year associate sort of discussion.
Yeah.
because
But this is.
We were talking about strategy, and do you want him to testify? Do you not want him to testify? And
You're
so
out of your
people on the other
mind to have him
networks were
testify.
telling them not
Out
to,
of
or
your
telling him
mind
to testify.
to have him testify.
Exactly.
Generally, you can make that a rule as a defense lawyer, with about 10% exceptions, if not 15.
But let's bring.
But
let's-
you had better write down the reasons why you're doing it, because I'll sue you for malpractice.
So we got to. Not everyone in our audience has been following it as closely. So this is the young man, Austin this is Carmelo Anthony, but he stabbed
Well, so he looks like a very reputable, nice young man in that picture.
In
with
that
the
picture.
nice
But
striped
so
tie.
he stabbed Austin Metcalf at a track meet, and the facts, I'm sure that Brianna will be able to actually give us the facts a lot clearer, but he was they were at a track meet, they're opposing, they're like competitors. This man, Carmelo Anthony, was in the opposing team's tent, got to an altercation and stabbed Austin Metcalf, and you just don't know what to do with it, right?
He stabbed him a number of times and killed him, right?
I mean, I don't know if you say allegedly at this point, because he's been
convicted.
He's been found guilty. So
he was convicted very quickly. I remember they were speculating, what does it mean when the jury comes back quickly? Huh? After I don't know how many jury trials, I can tell you what it means for the prosecution.
Oh yeah,
because people should come back quickly if it's a good prosecution, because it should be clear as hell. It should be like, and that's the young man who was killed. Now, the allegation is that he was taunting him in some way, right? Or is there an allegation he was taunting?
Self-defense was
what?
Well, the
self-defense.
They asserted that he stabbed him in self-defense, but I mean that's what a good lawyer would argue as well, right?
So Austin says it was self-defense.
No, Carmelo Anthony.
Carmelo says it was self-defense. So but this guy had no weapon, right?
No, sir.
Carmelo had a knife.
Yes, sir.
Sounds pretty bad. I mean,
and you got to think these are high schoolers at the time, and
this young man is now gone.
Yes, sir.
He doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And at that age, right? You might excuse like just someone carrying
a good-looking young man.
Context.
They both are very, very fine-looking young men. What a shame. Yeah. What a shame. So now that he's convicted, what does he face in sentencing?
That's right, and we are awaiting.
My understanding is, though, I think it's 5 to 30. What did they say?
Yeah, it's a ridiculously
it was
small.
A weird sentence. We both
maybe it's 5 to life or something.
And
but there's sort of some kind of minimum on it,
because
I guess of the way it happened.
There's mitigating circumstances in these cases, and I think his age is one of those. As it says, he's 19 years old, so I guess he has a lot of his life ahead of him. And I don't know, but apparently they didn't put on much of a defense, from my understanding. But
there was a real objection to not putting him on the stand. And I tell you, it is maybe it's used in the repetitious repeat of it, but the general wisdom is you never put a defendant on the witness stand. Because if the prosecutor, particularly if you have a really good prosecutor, I never failed to convict anybody. I never failed to convict anybody who got on the witness stand. By the time I even got people on the witness stand to plead guilty on the witness stand. The minute you put a defendant on the witness stand, you were gone. If I were the prosecutor or one of my best prosecutors, you were finished, gone. I wouldn't have indicted you if I couldn't convict you on cross-examination. Very rarely does a good defense lawyer put a defendant on the witness stand. I don't know what it is he would have said. Now, it is possible he's a particularly gifted communicator. And that can help. What are we watching now?
This is outside the courthouse. This is video from.
This is after he was taken away.
Yeah.
After the conviction.
Yes, this is from Brianna.
So
Morello.
I assume he's in jail with no bail.
Right.
I believe so.
And we'll learn from Brianna. She just needed a few extra minutes, Mayor. So I don't know if we want to.
Well, we'll move on to something else, and when she's ready, we'll.
I've been in her position where the bandwidth is just going a little bit too slow when you're in the action.
Well, we'll see what's going on there. So. We'll come back to this as soon.
Why do you think this case got a lot of attention? I mean, it is just in and of itself. It's a kind of sad case because it's two young guys, right, who seem pretty decent.
And
was it the white black thing?
They're trying to make it. I know all these people who are worked up are trying to make it very racially motivated.
Who
And
is?
you know what?
The
It's-
white people, the black people, or both?
Well, I think the people that are really engaging with each other right now, and especially if we've seen some other videos from the courthouse, some of the shout downs between, you know, it went around along racial lines, and this, to me, this doesn't really seem like it was necessarily a racial crime, was it? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I remember reading about it at the time. I thought it was more from Carmelo's point of view. He alleged that he was taunted, or
And I guess this is why it'll be better to have Brianna bit. But
yeah, well,
I mean, no excuse, obviously. But yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if the taunts, or even if there were taunts, or if they were racially charged at all.
So the good news is the House passed the immigration package. They're debating, debating the FISA Section 702 issue, which I hope they pass. I hope they pass. I mean, yes, there have been terrible violations of it. I'm a victim of it, but I still think it should pass because I think mostly 90%, 95%, it's used to protect us. It's horrible when it's used for political purposes or the way in which Biden and possibly Obama used it. We know for sure Biden did, including going after me. It's terrible that you did that, but it would be terrible to take it away from the country in protecting itself at a time in which we're in grave peril from dangers both inside and out.
Just start using it the right way.
Wake up, jerk offs in Congress, and you're not doing this because you understand national security. You're doing it because, unfortunately, we elect an awful lot of jerk-offs to Congress, Republican and Democrat. And there are Republicans who are making a big deal out of this. I don't even think they understand it. I really don't. And they're getting all upset because Pulte was nominated to be head of security, to be head of intelligence. I don't even know what that has to do with it. He's going to misuse it.
So he's officially been nominated.
Yes.
Okay.
And according to the, I don't know if I'm reading the Post or the
Well, they're
Wall
upset
Street
because
Journal.
it's not.
The president dropped the Pulte smoke bomb. What the heck is a Pulte smoke? All Pulte did is prosecute a few people that deserved it, including people that were going after me, friends of mine. I can personally attest were committing serious crimes against the United States Constitution. And he was the guy who had the balls to go after it. And that's the one that the Wall Street Journal and the Post go after. And all these make-believe congressmen.
Of course.
And they say, oh, he's going to really miss you. I trust him they're not a victim of this. None of those bullshit artists are a victim of it. I am. I trust Pulte.
Well, and the president does. And I think that's probably the number one prerequisite for that role.
The president's judgment on this should be paramount. The Post and the Wall Street Journal have never been victimized by these people. We have. If he thinks Pulte is...
You know what? I bet they actually might have been victimized at some point, but
only if they, God forbid, did anything helpful to maybe the Post because they publish the Wall Street Journal didn't have the balls to publish.
Yeah, I'm thinking like
Wall Street Journal turned down the hard drive because they were too scared. Rupert was, and his sons were going like this, like in Australia. Yeah, real balls.
So what
real
else we got?
Patriotism. There it is, a hard drive that proves that Biden spent his entire career in public office, taking bribes, stealing, and jeopardizing the national security of the United States by becoming an operative of Red China. And the Wall Street Journal won't publish it because they're scared. They're frightened. They're frightened. And I'm supposed to like bow down to them. And they hate me. Won't put me on Fox. because I know who they are.
Well, they're dying anyway.
Oh, we're not going to say that. But at any event,
We don't have to.
I really don't give a shit. So China and the U.S. are involved in trade talks. I find this very, very interesting because during the trade talks that are going on, I wonder how these affected the trade talks. The United States added a group of Chinese companies, and the biggest ones, to our blacklist, including, of course, companies that you just know are complete machines of spying. Alibaba. Alibaba is a conglomerate with e-commerce, cloud computing, and other businesses in the U.S. And they are infiltrated into all kinds of things on your. They're being cut off. Baidu, which I don't know, which is an internet search and artificial intelligence company, cut off. Must have gone really well at the discussions today. When all these companies, the list of Chinese military-linked companies, which the Defense Department revises annually, is an expansion from last year, underscoring the view from national security officials that China leverages its private sector to build and improve military technologies. Want to say it more directly? They steal because they are not creative. They don't have a creative bone in their bodies. It's been destroyed by more than half a century of communism. So every bit of technology they have to steal from somebody else because they can't have a creative thought. Doesn't mean they're smart as hell. They can memorize probably better than you can. They can do math better than you can. What they can't do is create because they were taught not to think rationally. They were taught to not challenge whatever the proposition is. They were taught to do the opposite of Aristotelian logic or Socratic dialogue. They reject, hate, and despise Western civilization. Western civilization created 80% of the great things in the world because it allows the free exercise of critical judgment. They suppress it. So everything they have, they steal. Then they're fabulous at reproducing it. Well, not so fabulous. I mean, their economy is a pissant economy compared to ours. Did you know that? It's really it's not even a comparison per capita. And plus, nobody ever calculates the fact that a third of their people are in dire poverty, living like they're in sub-Saharan Africa. And no answer for them. Never factored into their GDP or anything else. So before you get all excited about China, start to get realistic. Now, I'll tell you who has done better. And there was a great article in the Wall Street Journal about them. Maybe the Murdochs are looking for business there. But it's about North Korea and how North Korea has been a big economic turnaround. Well, that's true. But when I look at the numbers and where North Korea is, I would rather invest in South Carolina if you look at the GDP numbers. This article in the Wall Street Journal, I don't know if it was written by a communist or submitted by a communist. But this is one of the biggest, most ridiculous articles about how the North Korean economy has turned around. It's turned around from being completely impoverished to being 70% impoverished. And the other 30% is, I don't know, somewhere in the 18th century. But they're all impressed with it, which is one of the reasons why our young people and others get all confused about communism. This is a subversive article. Sorry. So we have Ali Reza, Jeff Sodardi with us, who I haven't seen in a while, including on TV. I mean, I see you on TV on other networks, but not with me. I'm getting jealous. You're a star.
Well, it's such an honor, Mayor, to be
It's an
on your
honor for
show.
me to have you. But
Always,
I'm
always
really
an honor for me to be on your show. Admire your dedication, your hard work, your fighting spirit. Every time I get on your show and then leave, I feel like more empowered.
well.
And I,
You're a remarkable patriot yourself, Ali Reza, both of the United States and a true Iran. But tell me, I noticed that they're with all this stuff going on, they're still doing a lot of executions, meaning the regime of terror. And what's going on for the MEK people? I see a few of them have been executed, a few more are lined up for it. So while everybody pays attention to how they're lying and doing this and doing that and attacking us, they just go on executing people, don't they?
absolutely, Bayer. I think that tells you where the regime sees their problem, which is they see a nation standing up, that no matter how many people the regime kills, the nation doesn't lose its spirit. They keep the focus on changing the regime for a better future, having political freedoms, democracy, separation of religion and state, gender equality, free market economy, peace in the Middle East, and a non-nuclear Republic Iran, a nation that will be focused on building the country rather than destroying its own country as well as countries in the region. And that's what really keeps people going. And of course, the regime is so paranoid, especially when they saw the prospect of ceasefire or peace coming up, thinking that this is going to lead to the revival of the uprisings. And they are so concerned this time, particularly, that the people are not just going to settle for demonstrations and protests in the streets. They're going to couple that with organized opposition, confronting the Revolutionary Guards, building their own fighting capabilities, and fighting back the Revolutionary Guards. That's why these executions started targeting the MEK, which its entire history has been not to back down in confronting the mullahs ruling Iran, and always encouraging the people to fight for their freedoms. And then they expanded that to all the other youth, anyone who is pursuing that same strategy. That's why you've seen these executions, and also they're continuing, and there are a number of them, at least 5 of them on the immediate threat to be executed. Among them, an athlete, a boxer.
Was he executed? Was he executed? The
No,
boxer?
he's not. He's actually
He's scheduled for execution at
yes,
some point, right?
he's been sentenced to death for a while, and then they reconfirm his execution. He was moved out of the prison, and this is the process usually they take when they want to execute a political prisoner. He just sent a message from prison, and showing that how firm and steadfast he is. He said, "I'm not afraid of standing up for these rights." He's so encouraged by those who actually stood firm, and saying that, you think by eliminating us, killing us, you're eliminating this whole idea. It's not going to happen. And you feel like, someone, a prisoner who's on their death row, having this high level of spirit and encouraging others to continue the fight and win. This is a winner already. And no matter what the regime does, and that's how the flames of opposition to the regime is everywhere. And that's the biggest worry that the regime has right now.
Well, it is. And how do you explain? And I know you understand this better than anyone. The different messages that come out of the regime. So you have one group that seems to want to negotiate a solution. And then you apparently have another group that undercuts that all the time, like whoever ordered the attack on the American helicopter. That's somebody that doesn't want an agreement, trying to destroy it, right? So who is in charge?
Well, Mayor, even though the regime is now much weaker, both the supreme leader, the successor to the previous supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, and also the Revolutionary Guard, which is the tool that keeps the regime in power, both are weaker, but still they operate in the same way that they operated before, meaning that they call the shots. And they feel the regime feels that this is how the regime is built over 40 years. They're built on terrorism. They're built on developing nuclear weapons, their missile program, their drone program, their proxies in the region. They're built on killing their own people to stay alive. So when they say we come to the negotiating table, we want to abandon our nuclear weapons program and all of that, saying that is one thing, but actually doing it is another thing. The goal of the regime for coming to the negotiating table has never been to abandon their threats or to alter their behavior. They're just trying to see how they can buy time, how can they can actually gain concessions and take away the momentum of whatever that has been going on. Otherwise, there was really no serious intention on their part. I wish there were, because we benefit a lot if the regime comes to terms, abandons its terrorism, abandons its nuclear weapons program. That would be great for the people of Iran, because you take away a very serious tool in the hands of the Iranian regime, taking away terrorism, their weapons of mass destruction. That's how the regime stayed in power over the years, and I hope this process goes well. But knowing the nature of this regime, and that's why I think what you started with about the inside Iran, about the killings, the most important factor remains to be the situation inside the country. The people of Iran, the organized force, the very explosive situation in the country, that no matter what the regime does, it's going to come back. And every time it has come back, it has come back bigger, more focused, more organized, and deeper.
You don't have to answer this if it's too sensitive, okay? But how good is the communications, and therefore an ability to figure out what's going on inside the country that you have?
Well, one thing I can say, of course, one of the most difficult things is actually communications, because the regime constantly tries to disrupt it, and they just cut off the internet. They also
have they restored any part of the internet?
They did, a good portion of it going back and forth. But not all of the communication can go through the internet. You have other means, but the regime is trying to identify people, connections, how you build networks, and all of that. Despite all of those difficulties, and I think everyone understands, this movement, especially the network inside Iran of the MEK, has been really on top of the developments. This is the same movement that exposed all the major nuclear sites of Iran dating back to 2002, giving out a lot of information about the inner operations of the regime, their terror network, their missile program, their drone program, but also maintaining their infrastructure inside the country. The regime knows that the MEK is involved in confrontation with the IRGC. They announced it themselves that 5 days before the war, the MEK, using 200 of its fighters, launched an assault on the headquarters of then Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. They know all of those things, but still they cannot contain it, because it's so deep-rooted. People always find a new way of communicating among themselves. So despite all of the difficulties, we still have the best information, we believe, coming out of Iran because of the network. because we have maintained the ability inside the country. But most importantly, when you have the right strategy, Mayor, the people respond to you. And you know, when you say the strategy to end the killings in Iran has to be based on fighting the regime, not relying on something else or just waiting for Revolutionary Guards to be recruited, you know, like the son of the Shah basically tries to derail everything going that direction. When you have that right strategy saying there's only one way, and that's fighting the you know, the regime, the IRGC, then the younger generation will come to you.
Well,
Then you become a pillar.
I would feel. I mean, I just don't inherently trust any agreement that's reached with any type or form of this regime, because they are self-professed liars. They tell us they'll lie in pursuit of their insanity, right? So I don't understand how anything you agree with them is worth the paper it's written on. Now, this boxer, I'm very concerned about this guy. Now, I may pronounce the name wrong, but Mohammed Javad Zafiel Sani. Is that close enough?
Yes, Mohammed Jawad, exactly. He's the boxer in the city of Mashhad, which is my hometown.
Yeah, I know. Every time
death.
I hear Mashhad now, I think of you.
Yes.
A lot of people come from Mashhad.
Well, it's a big city. It's second most populated city in Iran.
I'm shocked because I see all these people that they come from your hometown. I go, my God.
Yes.
But so tell me about him.
Well, you know, he was arrested during the uprisings. He was a, you know, well-known boxer and trainer in the city of Mashhad. Very dedicated, very focused, and the regime tried to break him several times by, you know, dragging during the prison, offering him to come on TV and confess and, you know, say whatever the regime wants, and then, you know, you save your life.
They want him to reject the organized resistance, which means the MEK, but anybody else, I guess, right? And he refuses. Absolutely. And he refuses to do it. He said,
right. Well, of course, his affiliation with the MEK is very obvious. He has said that, you know, that's what he's affiliated with.
Self-professed.
Yes.
He's very open about the fact that he's
very open,
associated with
very
the
committed,
MEK.
Not afraid.
Wow.
And he knows the consequences, but he doesn't want to back down because, you know, the regime is so sensitive on the MEK because this is the organization that has both a network but also a history of fighting the regime. And the strategy is built around the overthrow of the regime. So that's why the regime is so sensitive about them. And now you mentioned the athletes, Mayor, you know, the World Cup is coming up here in the United States and starting actually later this week. And you know, the whole issue of Iran is just like coming
when
to
is
the front burner.
Iran is playing at some point in the next week, right?
Yes, Iran has a team that is part of the World Cup. They're in Group G, playing in the same group with Belgium, New Zealand, and Egypt. And but you know, the main concern that people have had is that it's not about the players. It's about how the regime has been operating sports in Iran, specifically football, because football is very popular. It's very big all over the country. But the whole system is entirely dominated by the Revolutionary Guards, the IRGC. You know, in any country, sports institutions are supposed to be independent, autonomous. You know, you pick the players, you pick the coaches based on their ability, their quality. Not in the case of Iran. That's why
how worried are they that some of these guys are going to run away? Are going to run away?
Well, that's why the IRGC is totally in charge. Actually, the head of the Iranian Football Federation is an IRGC person. He was a former officer, commander of the intelligence organization within the IRGC. That's why he's in that position. They try to vet all of the players. That's why a number of good players were left out, simply because at some point they spoke
They're
up.
worried. They're worried that they'll be patriots, and you know they weren't. They eventually Mexico had to agree to take them, so they're staying in Tijuana. They're not staying in New Mexico or Arizona or California. So it can be very interesting. Well, I've got to
Yes,
run.
they only come for the games.
We'll be in touch because I want to see what happens with. Did I pronounce his name correctly? Zafei Sani.
Yes, Sunny, exactly.
Sani. Okay.
And one thing I want to add about the athletes, actually, tomorrow, Mayor, former members of the Iranian national soccer team and other athletes are gathering in Los Angeles.
I know that. Yes. Point that out.
Right, and they're holding a press conference actually in downtown Los Angeles, but also they're going to have an exhibit of all the pictures of the athletes who were killed by the regime. It's stunning. They would be like hundreds of pictures of prominent players, and you know, the former captain of Iranian national soccer team that scored the winning goal against Kuwait that got Iran to the World Cup for the first time, and he rose, eventually becoming the captain. But he was arrested and killed by the regime simply because they found out about his ties and affiliation with the MEK, and he refused to denounce it. And there were so many other athletes like that. So those players, those athletes are going to come and have this press conference calling on FIFA, basically saying, expel the Iranian regime from their football federation from FIFA because they're in sharp violation to FIFA principles in terms of discrimination, in terms of control of the IRGC over sports. You can't do that, and the suppression of the athletes, the discrimination against women. You know, no woman is allowed to attend any stadiums in Iran. Just think about it. The only country in the world is like that. The only country in the world that actually executes athletes. So they're going to raise all of that and saying, of course, World Cup is great, and you want to watch it and all of that, but keep in mind that the reality about the Iran regime is, and behavior related to athletes, this should not be overshadowed, and we should, bring the memory of those, remember those who have fallen, and that the only way we're going to have freedom for the athletes in Iran is a free Iran, because Mrs. Rajivi's 10-point platform for the future of Iran has guaranteed all of those rights for both the athletes, but also athletic institutions.
Well, Ali Reza, God bless you. We'll be in touch.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Constantly.
Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Man's a real patriot. We're going to take a short break now so we can be capitalists, which is what we are very proudly. And then we'll be right back, hopefully with Brianna.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org.
We're on.
Well, welcome back to America's Mayor Live. Ali Reza is quite a brave man. And I am very interested in this boxer. And we're going to be following up. Here's Brianna. Brianna, where are you?
Well, Mayor, it's great to see you, by the way. I'm very happy to see you.
It's great to see you, too. You look lovely.
Thank you. It's been a very hot day here in Texas, but I'm actually outside of the Cullen County courthouse right now. That's where the Carmelo Anthony case took place, at murder trial. And as of today, he is now a convicted murderer. And on top of that, he was just handed a 35-year prison sentence by the jury. And so tensions are very high right now. I'm keeping my eyes open.
By the jury? Did you say by the jury? The jury gets to determine the sentence in Texas. That's interesting.
It is very interesting. I didn't know that either, but his team decided that the jury was going to probably be their better option, and they went with the jury instead of the judge sentencing them. And he was sentenced rapidly, actually. The judge saying that if he was convicted before 2 p.m., that they'd get the sentencing hearing in today, and it looks like that's what took place.
So now tell us about it and how you feel, how you look at it. You really got people into this.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy these last few days. I've been here, and it's very hard to get into the courthouse. For some reason, Cullen County doesn't allow us to broadcast. They don't allow us to use our phones. They don't allow much in the way of media. They gave an exemption to a very limited group of media outlets. Unfortunately, I didn't make the cut, but I've been working my way in and out and getting all the information and bringing it to you, the people. But unfortunately, you know, this is a really sad case, because obviously Austin Metcalf was 17 years old. He was a track star. He was simply telling, according to those who spoke during his trial, and gave great testimony, a lot of his teammates did, he was just telling Carmelo Anthony that he needs to leave the tent because he wasn't on their team. And then that's where he started provoking him, Carmelo Anthony. And obviously it escalated, which resulted in Carmelo Anthony pulling a knife out and pushing it into his chest. And the reason why I continue to say that he pushed it into his chest, he plunged it into his chest while he was coming down like this, he plunged it upwards. And the reason why that's so important for everyone to understand is the defense team is very limited. They really didn't have much in the way of any type of defense. So they tried to create the illusion that it was possible that Austin Metcalf had maybe fallen into the knife. The medical examiner making it very clear, and so did the prosecution today, making it very, very clear that there's no possibility that he fell into the knife. It penetrated and it hit the center bone in his chest, and it also broke through both of the walls in his heart, and that is how he died. This was a lethal shot to the chest. Now, Carmelo Anthony was really hoping to get a manslaughter charge instead of the murder charge, and his defense team fought for it this morning. That option being available to the jury, but the jury saying just a couple of hours ago, no, we're not going with manslaughter. This here is murder, not self-defense, it's murder. And they slammed him with 35 years in prison for the 19-year-old.
What would have been the basis for the self-defense?
Rudy, honestly, I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They didn't really have an argument at all on any of this. It's actually quite strange. His legal team barely even touched the self-defense angle to it. All they kept on trying to do was bring in witnesses who got wrecked by the prosecution, by the way.
I read some of that. I couldn't understand what the self-defense did. He never got threatened.
No, and he was actually doing the threatening, and this is the crazy part. They were actually doing the threatening, referring to Carmelo, multiple people. And by the way, it's important to note, although there are people here trying to make this a racial thing, it's because they don't know the facts of the case. Multiple teammates who testified were actually Black, and they were all in defense of Austin Metcalf. So this is the crazy part to all of this. They tried to sit there and say this is racial. It wasn't racial on behalf of those who were surrounding him, who observed what happened that day and gave their statements. It wasn't racial for them, but their argument was apparently supposed to be about self-defense, and they just kept trying to bring people in that just weren't prepared. I don't even know if, honestly, his defense attorneys vetted these people. I mean, there was one instance, I was here on Saturday. By the way, they work on Saturdays here in court, in criminal court in Cullen County.
Well, I like
the judge-
that. I like that as a former trial lawyer and U.S. attorney. I really like that. It
Yeah,
shows
well,
they're very dedicated.
They are, and I'll give you a little info about the prosecutor as well. But it was interesting because I was here on Saturday, and on Saturday, the very last witness who was brought up by the defense up onto the to testify, well, that witness at first was kind of giving a little bit of a difference in how things started. But then once the prosecution went up to cross-examine this individual, it was very simple. All the prosecution said was who was in the wrong, and the testimony that came from this witness that was pulled up by the defense was Carmelo Anthony was in the wrong. And then they added, well, who was the one who was aggressive? Who was the one provoking who? Was it Carmelo? And they said, yes. And that to me was the final nail in the coffin when the own defense witness was brought onto the stand and absolutely flopped and actually admitted that Carmelo was aggressive.
The defense witness said that?
Yes. It was Saturday.
The
Was the
defense
final witness.
called this person, and the person said Carmelo was in the wrong, and he was the defense witness?
Yes, yes, yes. Mayor, I think the only defense that they're going to have now in all of this is try to get an appeal by saying that he had inadequate defense at this point.
I can see it right now. Ineffective assistance of counsel.
Yeah.
I could write the appeal immediately.
I figured.
That will be the this is a state court, right? Texas State Court.
Yeah, this is the Cullen County court. Yes, he is being prosecuted by the state itself. So yeah, it would count. And you know, Mayor, I want to give you a little background too in the prosecution office because I have a little bit of experience. Last time when I spoke with you, actually, we talked about how I had to pull my firearm here in Texas after a man went into my apartment complex and followed me up the stairwell. Well, the same prosecutors that prosecuted today's case are actually moving on to the next case, and it's actually my case. So I know they're believers in self-defense. I know they're believers in standing your ground. It's just a matter of you have to have the legal right to do just that. And Carmelo Anthony did not. I did. That's why I'm not being brought up as a defendant right now.
Was his family there?
His family was there. His mother was very emotional, obviously, and so was his father. Even yesterday, after the testimony kind of concluded and closing arguments, which happened earlier today, I mean, they were just very upset, emotional. Carmelo was also very emotional, according to reporters that were in the room. Was crying, was very upset. They had to take a break and get him some water so he'd catch his breath a bit. And then when they shuffled him in to face his sentencing, he apparently did not look well.
And the other family, were they there too?
I haven't heard much in the way of how the Metcalf family has handled this so far. I'm assuming that they were in that courtroom. Unfortunately, though, I was not allowed in. It's a very limited group, and a lot of people got here at 3:30 in the morning to make sure that they made their way into the very limited seats that were in that courtroom.
Well, thank you very much for covering it, because having somebody as astute as you are watching this helps a lot.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it.
To get a balance on this, and great job.
Thank you, Mayor. I always appreciate it. It's an honor to be on with you.
Find some air conditioning.
I know.
You
Thank
still
you,
look
sir.
beautiful, no matter what.
Oh, man. Thank you. That's an honor.
She is unbelievable. She is so good. I mean, it isn't just trials. I mean, I generally have talked to Brianna about political matters. She's fabulous on that.
Yeah.
I was very impressed as a former really, really active trial lawyer. You probably don't have any idea of that, but of her mastery of the case, that was very. I don't think I'd get a law student or one of my assistants to explain it as well as she did.
Oh, I go to her
But I tell you,
for any
putting a
breaking news,
defense
she's
witness
top of
on
it.
that ends up supporting the prosecution immediately, first point on appeal, ineffective assistance of counsel. Those lawyers who represented Carmelo,
Yeah.
they're going to get thrown over the Niagara Falls. Boom. The next lawyer that comes in is going to beat the shit out of them.
Right. Well, we'll have to follow Brianna's
It's
case.
going to be the only way to probably reverse the case, but it doesn't work. Ineffective assistance of counsel gets balanced by an analysis of the evidence. It isn't. Texas probably explains it differently, so I know federal law really well. What we would use is something called harmless error. Now, harmless error doesn't mean that the error is harmless. It means that the quantity of the evidence is so great but the error couldn't possibly have affected this. So if you have 5 witnesses that says the person who did it is this person, and you got him on tape, and you can see him do it, but the lawyers on defending him are drunk half the time, it doesn't matter because the quantity of the evidence is so great. That's the idea of it. Now, I don't know this case well enough to know if it can reach a harmless error level. I tend to think it can, but in any event, I did notice one very, very healthy thing about this case. I know it became sort of a racial issue because Carmelo is black and the victim is white, but I did notice in the last week or so, many black people came along saying that from what they can see, Carmelo is guilty and should be convicted. And they resent the fact that this is presented as a racial issue. Many black people came along and said that, which may indicate that our society is getting beyond that, because we have it happen the other way too. And we've got to be able to get beyond.
Agreed.
Despite what the left wing and the communists and the Islamic extremists are trying to do to us, and to exploit racial divisions that are actually over in our hearts.
Right.
They're trying to rekindle them. If we can fight back and overcome them, we'll defeat them. Because it'll turn out there are more good people in America than bad ones. Agreed. And I was very impressed, and I'm going to try to gather a couple of those quotes for you and show you the black people who came along very, very offended by the fact that they were using race as a defense in this trial. Because they said this is a straight out case of, was the murder justified or wasn't it? I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but this is important to know based on the atrocity and the unbelievably disgusting thing that's going on in Los Angeles, counting the vote for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. The Supreme Court will get to decide before we get to the end of June. Watson versus the Republican National Committee. 14 states now have laws that allow for late ballots as long as envelopes are postmarked by Election Day. And around 30 states have some sort of grace period for absentee ballots as well, letting military or U.S. citizens abroad cast their votes. Now, I have all the sympathy in the world for military people, but military people are fighting for a fair election in the United States. And if you can't get your vote in on time, you can't get your vote in on time, and you don't count. Now, why? Because it allows for too much cheating. Now, I know all the left wing rejects it. The New York Times just says this like it's gospel. It isn't. Nobody cheats on elections. The right wing is just like hell. Nobody cheats on elections. Do you know that just about every single Western European government, most of which generally are corrupt as hell, have rejected absentee ballots because they are so prone to cheating in elections? Now, if you don't think that human beings who desire power so badly they can sometimes kill for are going to cheat in elections, you are really stupid, or you're lying. If you are an intelligent observer of human personality and human history, the desire and the motivation to cheat on an election affects a substantial number of people involved in politics, because winning is everything. They'll lie to win, right? They'll take money from the most horrible people to win. So then why wouldn't they do the most important thing of all to win, which is to cheat on the election? Of course, it's a risk. It's a tremendous risk of the massive ambition that politics can create, or even the false notion that if you cheat on the election, you're doing the right thing because you're so much better than your opponent. You're the morally high ground. So therefore, it's okay for you to lie and cheat because your opponent is so terrible. The minute you do that, you're obviously worse than your opponent. You're Karl Marx. That's Marxian theory, and that's Mohammed's theory. Believe it or not, they fuse together here. You can lie in order to convert the world to the sun god, Allah Akbar. And you can lie to make everyone communist because it's so much superior to capitalism, and the Muslim religion is so much superior to Christianity and Judaism. The minute you get to that stage, you've become a tyrant. So the Supreme Court, I believe, is going to end. I would be shocked if in Watson versus the Republican National Committee, the Supreme Court doesn't rule that if the ballot doesn't arrive there on midnight by election day, and it's your obligation as a truly interested voter to get it in on time. Nothing wrong with that. Some of our greatest founding fathers said it's much better to have an informed voter than an uninformed voter making a moronic choice.
And Mayor, let's go back to, for example, when the Supreme Court has litigated or decided election issues, presidential election issues, and one of them would be in Florida, right? In the Florida case, and some of the logic.
Florida, meaning going back to 2000.
Yes, sir. Back to Bush.
The famous
cases, and it goes to the Supreme Court. And one of the logic and the reasoning behind some of the opinions, because I believe it's been a while since I've really explored it, but having certainty in elections was one of the reasons that was cited in the opinion, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And having a citizenry that has a right to know and have some certainty, and avoiding the chaos that comes from a disputed election. So I think the Supreme Court has a lot to work with in terms of reasoning if they want to come down that way. And I think that that's kind of what the reasonable choice is.
You have to, I mean, the minute you set rules that are unrealistic and allow for chaos in an election, first of all, it allows the cheaters to take advantage of that. And number two, it destroys public confidence in the election. And so there's a real choice that has to be made, actually. Is it better to encourage the maximum number of voters, including the seriously uninformed? Or is it better to have a group of voters who take it seriously and really reflect on what they're doing? You know, our founding fathers would say it's the latter. In fact, they warned us about how democracy can become dictatorship of the majority.
Yes, personally, I would actually incredibly prefer the one that you were talking about, the informed electorate. But there is something to be said, maybe a people's tribune, if you will.
Yeah, it's very different.
Because it's hard to not give representation to the poor and the needy and the
uninformed.
And the uninformed.
But they are so much more prone to being brainwashed.
Well, yeah.
And that's how did Hitler take over? Because people were uninformed. How did any dictator? Most dictators were elected democratically.
Yes.
So I mean, there's a real balance here, and you can't go too excessively in either direction.
Well, I think either way, this is not a something that we're going to implement.
No. But it is.
These are the discussions you have at Harvard.
But it is at the core of the bill that the president has before Congress. So a couple of things, if we go into which we're allowed to have now because of the because of the World Cup, right?
Oh, we gotta have a lot
Which
of
is
fun.
soccer time. So
Yeah.
Ukraine,
Football time.
you should know. My son, who runs the security, originally was supposed to call it football. He just refused.
Oh, I'm sure.
He just said, I'm going to call it soccer because I'll get too confused. But in any event, come on. Football, you tackle people. These people don't tackle. They knock
your
each other
foot.
down and then pretend they're injured.
Where do you use your feet the most?
What?
Where do you use your feet the most? Which sport?
Okay. You want to get technical? It really is football. But come on, it's compared to American football, it's a little bit of a sissy sport.
But like, if I think of the word sock, I almost think of hit, and so soccer could almost be football.
And actually, soccer has a lot of physical contact.
Oh,
it's kind of like basketball.
A
It's not
teeny
supposed
bit.
to have physical contact.
Oh.
But watching the game last night, it looked like a football game
It's a little
between the
physical.
Knicks and the game between the Knicks and the Spurs. It looked like a football game.
Knicks and
Those guys
Spurs,
were
the
banging
NBA.
they were banging the living daylight.
I
They were
kept telling you.
literally trying to put Jason Brunson out of the game from the very beginning.
And that was part of it. But
Everybody
also,
was trying to hit him.
it's the finals. It's the finals.
If they can get him out, they can beat the Knicks. Similarly, if the Knicks can get Wemby out, they'll probably beat the Spurs. But Wemby is so big, it's hard to get to him. He's like the Statue of Liberty.
But here's the thing: when he goes out of his way,
Plus,
to
he gets
foul,
protected more.
When he goes out of his way to foul, though, it's so obvious because his arms are
and he
so
gets
lanky.
away. And he gets away with it.
He gets away with it.
He really fouls himself out of every game that I've watched.
But here, if the refs are listening, though, I like the let him play style.
Yeah, but I like a consistent standard.
consistent
they don't
standard.
have one.
Yes,
They don't have one. They usually let big guys get away with murder. They used to do that with Chamberlain. Chamberlain fouled himself out of so many games I watched. It was ridiculous.
and it's human beings at the end of the day. These referees, but it's the finals. You need to have maybe another few refs out there to
But they've generally tend to be much tougher on the little guys than they are on the. They let the big guys get away with murder because they used to be uncoordinated, and they were every time Chamberlain moved, he fouled somebody.
So it would just get absurd.
Now they are as nimble as a 6-foot guy. Wemby looks like he could be a backcourt man. He's 7'4".
Oh, man.
He shoots from 35 feet from the basket and puts it in. He can dribble around you. He can do all the things that a little guy can do.
And they learn it from a very young age.
What a remarkable thing. Same thing with Towns, the Knicks center. The guy can shoot 3-point plays. He can shoot. Remember, who was it that couldn't shoot any fouls at all?
A lot of the big men,
Yeah, but there was one that was terrible.
Shaq couldn't shoot free throws.
he couldn't put.
I was just thinking Shaq when you were talking about coordinated, uncoordinated big people.
Yeah.
But man, I like Shaq.
Well, Shaq was a monster. It was just a basic monster on the court.
Well, so what do you think about last night's game, Mayor? The Knicks now kind of coming off something like 13, 14 straight wins.
Well, I think it
First
proves
loss back to
why the
reality.
Spurs are there. They're not a pushover team. They're a team with a great record, a better record all season than the Knicks, more consistent record. A superstar player that's beyond Wemby is beyond description. I have never seen a guy that size such a good shooter. He's the best shooter on their team, and he's 7'4". That's absurd. You put him on the line, and what 9 out of 10 times he's going to put the ball.
Right.
That's what Brunson does.
And in
But
terms-
Brunson's 6'2".
Right.
In terms of game threes, we all kind of said it would be a little bit more rare to have a 3-0 situation. Teams typically don't go 3 games.
No,
in a
3-0 pretty much ends it. I'm not sure. We should look. Ted, you're good at.
The
Has
research
there ever
desk
been a
is on it.
basketball team in a final that's come back from 3-0? The Red Sox came back from 3-0 in an American League championship round against the Yankees, unfortunately. But nobody's done it in the World Series. Nobody down 3-0 in a World Series has ever come back. They've come back from 3-1. It's happened rarely, but it happens. And it happened in basketball a few times. But has there been a 3-0 comeback? Now, we don't have to deal with that because the worst it'll be for them is 3-1.
Oh.
But believe it or not, they'll be going. It'll be 3-2, and they'll be going home. So in a way, by winning that game, San Diego recaptured the home court advantage.
San Antonio.
Never in league
San
history,
Antonio, what
a
did I
team
say?
has-
San Diego.
Yeah,
A
I don't
team-
even know who they are.
Both way too hot right now this time of year.
A team has never come back in the playoffs, let alone the finals,
Who?
down 3-0 in the NBA.
Yeah. But that's true in baseball too.
Oh,
No,
you
Only
might,
one team has done it: the Red Sox.
you
I was
might
gonna
remember
say-
this. You might remember this.
Maybe in hockey.
The 51 New York Knicks came the closest. They trailed the Rochester Royals 3-0 in the NBA Finals, but won the next 3 games to force a Game 7. Then the Royals held on for a victory.
Harry
And-
Gallatin. Was there.
Whoa, you know it.
Harry Gallatin was there. Carl Braun.
Oh, any of our listeners
Take a
know
look,
about
take a
this?
look.
Send some pictures
Carl
into that
Braun,
era.
Harry Gallatin with Ray Felix with them.
Checking.
They got Ray Felix, I think, from the Harlem Globetrotters. Let's see. Check my knowledge of basketball. Harry Gallatin for sure. He was a great center, but he was like 6'5". Once Russell came into the league, poor Harry was overwhelmed.
Let us see.
Take a look.
I'm looking. It's the
Carl Braun yet?
it's thinking. The machine is thinking.
What year was it?
51.
That's a little early for Carl. Carl-
51.
Carl,
Oh,
Carl lived in the same town I did.
How? So you were
I was a baby, but I
you
was
weren't a baby. You were probably you were able to like remember.
yeah,
stuff,
but
right?
I love basketball.
Okay, so let's see here.
Ray Felix,
Oh wait, so yeah, the New York Knickerbockers.
who were the
Okay,
players?
for the Knicks? Vince Borila, Max Zaslofsky, and Harry Gallatin.
Harry was the center and the star.
He grabbed 10 rebounds.
Oh, Harry was from California.
Okay. They were a balanced, veteran-laden team with strong guard play, solid rebounding.
Who were the
and-
guards?
Let's see.
Was Carl Braun with them yet? Carl Braun was
Did
a
they
great.
even like separate it like that back
Carl
then?
Braun was one of the best guards in the league in the 1950s with the Knicks.
What was his name? Carl Braun.
Carl Braun.
Okay, I don't.
And Ray Felix.
I
came-
see Ray
came-
Lump. Ray
What?
Lump.
No. Ray Felix came about 2 years later. Ray Felix they got from the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, Tex Ritter. That's a good name.
Oh, I remember Tex Ritter. He was
Dick
there.
McGuire.
Oh, McGuire was terrific. He played at St. John's.
Okay, Sweetwater Clifton.
Oh, that's the guy. Sweetwater Clifton is the guy think of the name Sweetwater.
Oh my gosh.
Sweetwater Clifton
What?
was from the Harlem Globetrotters.
What a fact. Okay, get ready for this. So, one of the first players to break the color barrier in the NBA
Was Sweetwater.
was
Oh,
Sweetwater.
he was a
Clifton.
fabulous guy too. Very colorful.
That's incredible.
Great Nick. He was with the Knicks for about 10 years.
Yeah.
I
kinda-
remember meeting him at the Armory when the Knicks used to
Oh,
play at the
wow.
Armory. Sweetwater was a very nice guy.
Oh man. And then also Connie Simmons.
And he would go back and forth at center with Gallatin. But Gallatin, I think Gallatin played at UCLA or USC or one of those places.
Oh man, what a time. On TV? No, probably
Yeah.
not.
Knicks were on their way to dominating. And then the Boston Celtics were able to acquire one single basketball player that changed basketball forever, more than any basketball player in history. To me, the greatest basketball player ever. And you're going to say, Giuliani, you're crazy. Nowhere near as good as LeBron, or pick whoever you want to pick.
Michael Jordan.
Any of these guys. This guy was the best, greatest basketball player that ever existed on the on the planet.
Okay.
Bill Russell.
Bill Russell.
Okay. So Bill Russell, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who lost one game in college, Kareem did. I'm not sure Russell lost any. He played for San Francisco University. But he came from the Boston area. In those days, they had geographic, they had like a geographic kind of
Like a restriction?
limitation on drafting. So you got to draft from your area. So if you had, which helped the Knicks and Boston, because they had team like Boston got Bob Cousy from Holy Cross.
Big talent.
Until recently, the greatest guard in the history of basketball, the greatest backcourt man in history. So Russell came from the New England area, right? Gallatin, although he played in California, came from the New York area. So the Knicks had Gallatin before they got Russell. But Gallatin was 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", great center. All of a sudden, this 6'8" center comes along, who would be nothing now, 6'8", right?
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if he lost 1 or 2 games in college, Russell.
Where did he go to college?
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
So he comes into the league. For the next 12 years, he dominates basketball. He wins the championship.
What year are we talking about?
About 53, 52, 53.
Was San Francisco nice back then?
I have no idea.
I bet it was.
But Russell comes in and he wins the championship. I think he has 9 or 10 championship rings, and then 2 or 3 as a coach. And he wins like 9 out of 12 years. And then Chamberlain comes along. And Chamberlain is going to kill him because Chamberlain is 6'3", 7'3", strongest guy that ever existed. Russell really is only 6'8" or 6'9", just a kind of skinny, not that. Russell beats him like they play for the championship 5 times. Russell wins 4 out of 5.
So it's the skill.
Oh,
Skill over size, I guess.
Completely, even to this day, overrated because he never bothered to score when he didn't have to. He could have only 3 or 4 points a game.
Oh, come on.
Oh, absolutely. And the Celtics, in fact, the less he scored, the bigger chance they were winning because he would have 12 assists. He could take the ball. First of all, he could rebound unassisted. You could put 3 guys at him under the basket, right? He'd come up with the ball. Not only would it come up the ball, he would pass it to half court to Bill Sharman or Bob Cousy like this. He had a hand that was that big.
The assist.
He threw a basketball like a football. Cousy, boom. Now they're at half court. Everybody's chasing him. Boom, they put the basket in. Unbelievable. Nobody's ever done it. There have been a couple of people who have been okay at it, the outlet pass, but it's gone. You don't even know what it is. I lived through it. I watched it as a Knicks fan. It drove me nuts. Why don't we have him? How do you defend it? Whew. I'm telling you, Bill Russell, who then was a coach and then was a commentator, the single smartest commentator on basketball in the history of television.
Bill Russell.
Man is a genius. Is Bill Russell still alive?
Hey, why don't we find out?
Because if he is, we're going to have to interview him. I'm going to tell him I think he's the smartest basketball brain that ever existed, and I'm a Knicks fan.
Well, when I look that up, I'll just let you know that top song on the charts in 51 was "Too Young" by Nat King Cole.
Oh, that's probably beautiful. Nat King Cole was.
And then "Because of You" by Tony Bennett was number 2.
Tony Bennett, he's still alive, I think.
Yes, of course.
He's probably still singing.
I think there's a picture. You guys.
I saw it. Oh, I knew Tony Bennett because he was a good friend of Peter and Peter Vallone. They were very close friends. They grew up together in Astoria, and I met him several times.
Okay, well, I have to give bad news to the audience and to you.
Bill Russell's dead.
He's passed away in 22 in Washington.
Yeah. Well, he probably was a good age.
88.
Yeah, but
So too young.
I'm telling you, because you haven't seen it. Definitely ignored when they say greatest basketball player ever. I would like to see somebody isolate those outlet passes and see if there's anybody in basketball today that can do that. It requires being like a quarterback and a basketball player. Nobody could do that.
Do you see it in ladies basketball at all?
I've never seen anybody do what he did. Now, I've seen people try. I've seen a couple that are pretty good at it. Like Kareem could do a little of it. But if Kareem had concentrated on doing that at his size and his ability to throw the ball, Kareem would be the undisputed greatest player in the history of basketball. Kareem is probably somebody you could argue is the greatest player in basketball. You could, if you have to look at his numbers and see what I'm saying. But Kareem went through high school basketball at Powell Memorial Academy playing with a friend of mine. I think he was undefeated in high school basketball. He went through college basketball, one loss.
Where did he go?
He went to Powell Memorial Academy.
Oh, well,
in Manhattan
for college.
He went to UCLA in college.
Oh.
And he lost one game in college to Hayes. And then he came back in the NCAA championship that year and wiped him out. And he was injured, and he played the game anyway. And he lost one game in college to Houston. Hayes played for Houston. These are the great days of basketball. I mean, they're great days now, too. These are great players.
I'm going to have to dig it out.
These people are incredible athletes. When you look at Brunson and you look at Wemby, you see but you watch those other guys, like all of a sudden some guy out of nowhere makes a three-point play. You realize how far away from the basket
they're all running very fast. They're all big. They're all healthy. And when you've been with them in person, it's nuts. It's like seeing
and when they're
monsters
down and you got to make a three-point play and they take it, it takes a lot of guts to do that. Because if you miss it, you ruin your team. Like there's 2 minutes to go, you're down by 6 points, and the guy goes for a three-point play. If he makes it, my God, you cut the thing in half. If he misses it, you probably lose the game.
And I'll just and one
but
more
the guy
thing.
has to have the guts to take it nowadays.
One more
because
thing.
they will if you don't.
I have to say, as an athlete, about some of these basketball players, modern basketball players, though, the hair, it would distract the heck out of me to have the hair that some of these players
that guy
have. On San Antonio.
We had a thing we were watching. We didn't understand. Somebody grabbed his hair.
Well, and
it was or was not a penalty.
Well, the intricacies, I didn't really
if you touch the hair, is that a penalty?
And then I'm wondering, is the hair an extension of the body? Like, are you allowed
to they resolved it one way or the other, but I don't remember.
I know. Well, I think
they resolved it. It wasn't a penalty if you just touched the hair.
I think so.
But I think if you pull them back by the hair, that would have to.
My understanding in football is you can tackle from the hair, but it's just very.
But if I'm going up to shoot, right?
Yeah,
this can be impossible to even.
You got a little bit.
Kind of like dream of with me, but they had a big thing back here. I go up to shoot, and you grab my hair and push me back. That's got to be a penalty.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm finding something to call.
While I'm shooting.
There's probably a catch-all penalty for like just being an asshole, right?
But you know the thing that kills me about penalties? There's no standard that it interferes with the shot. So all of a sudden in a game, there's a lot of touching, right? So the guy goes in to shoot and he gets a little touch. Doesn't interfere with the shot. They don't call a penalty. All of a sudden he goes in for a shot, little touch, penalty.
So consistency is what you're
No, absolute inconsistency. Now, this drives me crazy as a former catcher. Here's what I hated about umpires. I didn't care if they had big strike zones or little strike zones. Stick with it, jackass. If I know you got a big strike zone, I go tell my pitcher, we got an issue here. We got to get closer to the plate on every pitch if we don't want to give up a lot of walks. All of a sudden, he changes it in the middle of the game, or he does it different for the other team because he really doesn't know what he's doing. If you're an umpire, you got to decide immediately, You're going to have a slightly extended strike zone or a tight strike zone. And believe me, you got to decide on one or the other because your eyesight is not that good to have both.
Yep.
Now, with the replay they do.
Oh, you better be good.
Now, with the replay they do, it is remarkable how good they are. They really get sustained most of the time. They're right.
Well, and I'll tell you this, I'm a hockey official, and top level coaches, as long as it's both sides, like fairly called, they can play with it, and they've coached their teams to be able to adapt to officiating. I would
sometimes have a pitcher and he'd throw a strike outside, and they call it a ball, and he'd argue. I go out and say, "Shut up! This guy's been doing it all game. You haven't been here. You just got to get these are people. You got to get the ball closer to the plate and take a chance that they're going to hit it. Otherwise, you're going to walk everybody. We got to bite hard and just throw it closer to the plate, and you got to throw a better pitch because that's the kind of umpire we have.
And then if they hold the other team to that standard,
and some did, but some didn't. Some would change it even on you halfway through the game.
Yep.
Halfway through the game, they used to call outside strikes. Now they don't.
Like you keep a Snickers bar with you to give
those are games I almost got thrown out of.
Well, as you said, I mean, last night was very physical, and yeah, the game.
Well, the whole thing has been physical, and I do believe that they were intent on getting Brunson out of the game, try to injure him and get him out of the game.
Is that not smart?
Of course, it's smart, but there was one play that was an intentional.
Oh, I know
foul. And then they call one on the Knicks that wasn't anywhere near that.
That was what got me going, because I actually was ready to let the Brunson one go.
The foul on Brunson, where they hit him under the chin, after the play was over, they hit his body, hit him under the chin, knocked him down on the ground. It was clearly an intentional, flagrant foul. They didn't call it. Then there was a little touching later on in the game by a Knick, and they called it a flagrant foul.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I would like to, if we could find those, I'd like to play them because there's something wrong with that. And if I was a league official, I would check the referee who did that. Now, maybe it was two different. See, the problem is it could be two different referees, two different umpires, or whatever you call them.
But that's unacceptable. It doesn't matter. The referees need to be on the same
page. At the beginning,
page.
They have to agree on a standard they're going to follow.
And if you're a guy like me who's a let them play guy, and you have a partner who is, or multiple partners who are calling things, you have to start calling things, because if you do not, it will not be fair.
That's a good, and that's very important.
As much as but almost always when I have the most successful games, we're
on the side
play.
of. In essence, it has to be a flagrant contact, or you're not going to call it because you want them to play.
Yeah, I want them to be competitive.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Reach their potential.
You have that.
You put your body on the line.
That's a tough one to get.
That they need to look at. This is a good box out, but
tell me that
good box out, but good box out.
How can you possibly look at that and not think that that's a flagrant foul?
And that's the hair we were talking about too.
And now
Two fouls.
This is the third time they tried to injure him. So not only is it flagrant foul, but they know that Brunson is the key to winning. Look at that.
But we have embellishing, because he gets right up.
We're not in. Doesn't matter if he's injured or not.
Get right up.
Honestly, I don't think.
My back.
I don't think he was that injured, but it's still a flagrant foul.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't know. Stephen, it's like you shoot at somebody and miss. Now, I agree that Brunson is probably overdoing it, but it's still a flagrant foul. Look at that. The guy was attempting to injure him, and he failed at doing it.
He is right in front of the official, but at this point, he doesn't have the ball. The official's eyes might be on the ball where they probably should be.
But they looked at it again.
Oh, and they
looked at it again.
Is that right?
NFL Blind Central. NBA or whatever they are.
Excuse me. That should be
they're completely Chinese communists. Look at that.
Headquarters, they had to send it to Beijing.
Look at that one.
The NHL sends the review to
doing
Toronto.
that. They're trying to injure him. They did that about 5 times.
That's the lanky guy. You can't avoid, and the hair guy. Oh yeah.
Well, that's Wemby, who gets away with all kinds
Yeah.
of fouls, and Brunson gets away with none. Now, tell me those aren't fouls. So how can I, as a Knicks fan, accept the result of that game with that shit?
Yeah, and like,
And tell me they didn't want to square up the tournament because it was getting boring.
were they betting?
Well, I don't know. No, I think it might be different for the league. Like Knicks blow them out in 4 games, they lose a lot of money, right? This goes to 6 or 7 games, they make a lot more money, particularly with the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me they weren't cheating in that game. Those fouls were. You don't even have to be a basketball fan to look at that, and that's a mug. That probably is a violation of New York law.
Oh my goodness! It was like it was.
I think if I were the mayor,
it was one.
You know what I would have done if I were the mayor? I'd have called up the police commissioner and arrested Wemby before or whoever it was, the hair guy, before the game was over.
We've had prosecutions at our NBA games in Michigan.
That's what I would have done. I would have said it's an assault. Look at it again. That's an effing assault.
Oh my goodness.
Ted, show me again. Now, are you you're keeping very quiet, Ted.
I'm just playing these clips.
Come on, tell me that isn't that the definition of a flagrant foul?
Well, it depends how much he's embellishing.
And how the
But he's not. He can't embellish right now. He's getting knocked down. When he gets down, he embellishes. But right now, he's not embellishing.
No, I have also not been critiquing.
He hit him in the chin.
How hard have the Knicks been hitting that I just haven't noticed either, though, too, right? Have they been hitting pretty hard all game?
I don't remember a Knick
I don't
hit.
remember.
But look at that. Look at that one.
That's
now tell me that isn't.
But did he like grab him in, somewhere?
He gets a little upset, but he doesn't do anything. Look at that. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But they're obviously trying to get him to react, right?
No, they're trying to injure him.
Oh, shit.
They don't really a little extra point big. What they're trying to do, they did it in the first game. They hit him in the knees 3 times in the first game.
After the game, Knicks fans agreed.
Well, the Knicks fans, they're probably fighting with each other.
They actually went on a spree of attacking Spurs fans outside the stadium, and this actually started to make some news because of the amount.
Oh, leave them alone. They're just New Yorkers. You got to give New Yorkers a little
sorry,
respect.
this is tonight. I'm kidding. This is not tonight.
No, it wasn't tonight. It was last night. There's not enough people from San Antonio there for them to beat. They're beating each other up. Leave them alone. They had to get a little something out, you know. They're probably from Brooklyn and the Bronx. And
that's a basketball fan thing.
What the hell do you expect from them? I mean, come on. They're guys. Thank God we have some guys left. Right?
Right.
Yeah. Let's just
women constantly complain to me, I can't find a man. There you go. There are a couple of men there. They fight.
Okay.
Go to a sports riot.
Yeah.
And that's real.
I'm sorry, men fight. They've been doing it since the beginning, you know. They got to protect, and we don't want a bunch of sissies. So Ukraine, you know what Ukraine's been doing as everybody's quiet? I like this a lot. Look, there's nobody that understands Zelensky better than me. So don't. On the other hand, there are very few people in America that love the Ukrainian people the way I do. It's a tough distinction. You gotta get to know them to realize it. But it's not a distinction that's unknown around the world. The Ukrainian people are wonderful people. The Ukrainian leadership is disgraceful, including Zelensky. However, these people are making real gains now against a Russian tyrant. They've recaptured more than 230 square miles of territory so far this year. The momentum is shifting very seriously in this 4-year war against Russia. Now, this is a longer war than Russia's war against Germany, which only I will tell you they would have lost if they hadn't switched all the troops from the Russian front to France to defend Berlin against Eisenhower's invading army. If they had moved 800,000 troops from Russia to the Western Front, today, Russians would be speaking German. That saved Germany. And when the Russians celebrate how they won the Second World War, they should kiss our ass. They won the Second World War because of Eisenhower, not because of Stalin. If those 800,000 Germans were attacking Moscow, they would have taken it. They were moved to the French-German border. Eisenhower had no idea because Hitler did. So Hitler, who we hate, and we should, was very, very shrewd. Hitler knew that we had figured out their code. He figured it out with D-Day. So he changed the code. He gave us false information. And while he was giving us the false information, he moved 800,000 people from the Russian front to the Bulge, right where we would come over the French border to enter Germany. Now, we lost more people in that battle than any other, America did, than any other battle in the Second World War. If those 800,000 hadn't been moved, what do you think the chances are that Germany would have taken Moscow? With 800,000 more troops, they almost did it without 800,000 more troops. There are no chances. So we would have to have been negotiated when we were ending the Second World War to get Moscow back from the Germans. Now the Russians, including Putin, have a big celebration of how they won the war. The Russians should kiss our ass for winning the war, because if it wasn't for us, they wouldn't have won it. But because there's so much communist influence with our historians and our academics, nobody will tell you that. They won't tell you that. We won the war for all of Europe and for Russia because of Eisenhower, and I'm going to tell you who else, Patton, sitting in the south of France, taken out of the D-Day invasion because Marshall and Roosevelt didn't trust him, but Eisenhower did. Kept on the sidelines. Germans can't understand why we're not using our best general in the D-Day invasion. Their conclusion, Rommel's conclusion, was the best general. Rommel, who was a very egotistical, great general, thought there was only one general in the American army that matched him, possibly MacArthur, but MacArthur was over in Asia, right? He said this guy, Patton. Montgomery takes the credit, but it was really Patton who defeated me in Africa. You got to watch this guy. And he advised the Nazi high command, if they're going to invade in France, they have to use Patton. Now, our general, Eisenhower, was smart enough to know they would do that because Eisenhower knew how great Patton was. All the rest discounted him. Marshall, all the communist influenced Roosevelt people, he slapped a soldier, that makes him a bad general. It makes him a guy with a bad temper, not a bad general. Eisenhower knew how to overcome that. They did. A bunch of liberal communist jerks. But Eisenhower wasn't allowed to use him in the D-Day invasion. He kept him near Provence, all the way over here. It helped a little because a lot of the German defense moved there. They couldn't understand how we would invade without Patton. They thought, a little bit prejudiced because of their army history, that our only real general was Patton. And MacArthur, who we had over in in Asia. So D-Day happens like a few days ago, right? Our anniversary. And eventually, after a lot of losses, we get off the beach, and then we do magnificently. We march right straight to Paris. And our great General Eisenhower, quite correctly, says, but not knowing something that's going on, we're going to be in Berlin. We're going to be in Berlin by Christmas Day. 2 days before Christmas, they're at the German-French border, taking the biggest losses of the Second World War because of the Battle of the Bulge. Now, why is that? Because Hitler, who was extraordinarily smart and extraordinarily evil, decided to move 800,000 of his troops from the Eastern Front, where he was now convinced he was going to lose. Maybe he was even convinced that the stupidest thing he ever did was invade Russia. Maybe. We'll never know. So he moves 800,000 troops to the Western Front. But here's what he does that shows that we were dealing with a very shrewd but evil adversary. What he does is he changes the code, because he knows that we have broken the code. And on the broken new code, he makes it appear as if he's reinforcing the Russian front. And on his own code, he's moving 800,000 troops from Russia to the French-German border to reinforce the Bulge, which is where we were going to come in and within days be in Paris. It wasn't days, it was months. At Christmas time, instead of being in Paris as General Eisenhower predicted, we were losing more troops than we did in the entire Second World War in the Battle of the Bulge. We just about got through it. And Eisenhower made a decision that Roosevelt and the communists around him hated. He called Patton and he said, take that army in the south of France, and just in case we don't get there on time, take Berlin. George, you're free now. Patton, who'd been held back for months, takes his army nice and rested. They march right through France. They get to Berlin. They take Berlin, and then they're sitting there waiting for the effing Russians to come. And he keeps sending things back to Eisenhower, who says yes, and to the communists around Roosevelt, who say no. Let me take Berlin, and I can go into Poland and take Poland. They don't have to be taken by Stalin. I'll be there before Stalin even shows up. Nope. Stay back, George. Just sit there and watch. Watch while the communists take all of Eastern Europe. Watch while the communists take half of Berlin. Watch why Alger Hiss and all the people around Roosevelt get to what they want to do. Because the old man, by the way, is in Biden territory. Roosevelt. Put him in his wheelchair and, push him up at Yalta. So, I like Joe. And Churchill is saying to him, Stalin is evil. We made that deal because we had to, not because we like. This Uncle Joe thing is bullshit. I like Uncle Joe. I like Uncle Joe.
Okay, so
I'm telling you history now. You can go crazy on me if you want.
And that is part of, we're going to be doing more of this as we
the left wing hates what I'm telling you. I'm going to tell you, left wing, right wing. I as a moderate Republican, my reading of history is perfect. What I just told you is perfectly accurate.
Okay, so we
That's
need to
what
go
happened.
back.
And the communists have been infiltrating us since Wilson. And they have finally really gotten a big hold on us. And we have got to unite and throw them out along with the Islamic maniacs. And we got to put America. It's the only country that cares about the rest of the world. And we have to do it if we care about the rest of the world, not just because of us. That's what I dislike a little bit about the phrase America first. I like America first. I agree with America first. But it's actually the world first. It's Western civilization first. What we're defending is not just America. We're defending a civilization that began somewhere in Greece and in the Middle East with the Jews. That's the civilization we're defending that grew like this. And if we don't preserve it, the world is gone. It's the only thing that saves the world, makes it human. Sorry.
Well, that's a good.
Oh, well said,
A
man.
lot of good points.
So
there.
Ukraine fighting back. They've gained territory since January 1st. Fair amount. 800-mile front line territory regained. May's total gain of 38 square miles is one of the greatest in one single month. And Ukrainian forces struck more than 88,000 Russian military targets in May, killing more than 30,000 Russian soldiers and causing more than $1 billion damage to Moscow's military-industrial complex. And most intense fighting has taken place in the Donetsk region, which Putin is dying to get, and he's been driven back. Now, why is he dying to get that? Because it's filled with very, very high quality defensive capability. And it's the shortest and easiest route to Kiev or Kyiv, whichever you prefer. And the Russians can't capture it. So one of the demands is in their peace, whatever negotiation, you got to give it to us. Why the hell would Ukraine give them something they haven't captured? I don't get it. Screw you. You didn't capture it. You don't get it. And meanwhile, Putin, don't fool me. You got half to three quarters of your rich people telling you, stop this damn war because we're getting nowhere. You've been in the same spot for the last 2.5 years, and now you're losing territory. I don't even know how many Russians you've killed. You wiped out 15,000 North Koreans. They were shooting each other. And the Ukrainians seem like they're willing to go on forever. They don't want to stop. So I hate to ask this question. Why don't we step on Putin? Do you understand? Why we don't just
He needs a runway off ramp in order to take some sort of victory.
are we trying to get him to be an opponent to China? I can understand that.
At some point, probably.
I can understand that, but I'd like to see a more direct strategy to doing that.
Right.
I would, I think if he keeps it up, there's a chance that Ukraine will really set him back. But we'll see.
Right. We'll have to.
That's a second war. And nobody pays attention to that with the Middle East war going on. And meanwhile, Ukraine's making great gains there.
Yes.
And
Over 250
Putin is number one, losing territory, a little bit, A little bit, not a lot, a little bit. Number two, he's experiencing significant problems at home.
Right.
Now, let's get home. We're way over, aren't we? So
Okay.
in New York, you should know, aside from the Knicks, ICE is coming. Our hero, Mr. Holman, has announced that ICE is going to make New York its next big target.
We like that.
Meanwhile, the Muslim loving extremist Mondami and the communist Mondami, I don't know what he's going to do when ICE shows up. And Hochul, who's up for re-election, who's got a few brain cells left, not many. I don't know what she's going to do either. But Holman's not screwing around. He's going to come in. He's going to take out as many of the illegals that are killing, raping, and throwing New Yorkers on subway platforms into the train. You can get them out of there. Like, we should say, thank you, please come quickly as possible. We got enough problems with native New Yorkers who do that. Will you get rid of the ones who came in under Biden, please?
Do we have a timeline on that, or?
Tom Homan said Monday that plans have been laid out to flood the Big Apple with more ICE agents than you've ever seen, after he repeatedly warned Governor Hochul of an impending surge.
Ooh,
Now, this was right after they passed sweeping sanctuary laws, curbing local cooperation with federal authorities. I don't understand why that isn't a federal crime, but I'm a disbarred lawyer from New York, so I'm not sure I can be allowed to tell you. Right? You don't believe in lawfare? I do. So Holman says, okay, you don't want to cooperate. We'll find other ways to track down targets. Lack of cooperation is going to create more of a problem, but we don't care. We're just going to get those people and we're going to get them the hell out of there. Thank you. So what they're trying to set up in New York is another Delaney Hall. So Delaney Hall is right across the river in New Jersey. It's a place where they keep illegal aliens. This all began with the far left, including the governor, Mickey Sherrill. Remember, Mickey Sherrill is the Annapolis cadet who cheated on her exams, lied 3 or 4 times, was delayed from getting in the Navy by 9 months, and was finally let in because they didn't let all the cheaters in. They wouldn't have had a Navy. Instead of doing what the Navy should have done, I don't know which president this was under, but this is a jackass president. Throw them all out. I don't know. We can do away with one class of cadets if they all cheated. What do we have to have a bunch of liars and skunks in the Navy? I mean, they're supposed to tell the truth. They're not supposed to cheat. It's not a game. If you start cheating in war, you get people killed, like Cheryl would have. But they took this lying cheat in. She went to Congress. She was a complete jackass congresswoman. And now she's an unbelievably terrible governor. So she has basically caused all the problems at Delaney Hall by blaming it on ICE and claiming that Delaney Hall conditions are rodents and terrible food with maggots in it and whatever. A number of people have gone there now in the last 2 weeks and say it's considerably better than most schools. The exercise equipment is superior. The food is excellent, which has been eaten by 7 or 8 different people, including Tom Homan. And you, lady, there you are, cheating cadet. You're a damn liar because you want to be president. So you're going to lie your way to the presidency like the Democrats right before you and try to ruin our country. Look at that stupid smile. That's the smile of a phony witch. And she caused the entire riot. If she ever runs for president, that's a riot to cause it right there. So a number of people have now inspected Delaney Hall and come to the conclusion that it's nicer than the vast majority of federal prisons or schools. And the food is excellent, eaten by Tom Homan and others.
Right.
Not you, you lying, cheating cadet. You want a terrible statistic to show what's wrong with us? We do not, as a society, I'm talking now broadly as a society, respect human life anymore. We don't respect the values that we have to be the successful nation. When President Trump talks about making America great again. The abortion rate in this country is horrendous. I don't know what it was last year. The year before in Harlem, more Black babies were aborted than born, which is the real goal of Planned Parenthood, to genocide for ignorant Black people. That's the group that does most of the abortions, Planned Parenthood. And their origin is genocide for ignorant Blacks. Think about that. Many of these abortions take place at Planned Parenthood, which is reimbursed by the federal government. So you're paying for the killing of babies. You like that? You comfortable with that? Well, I got a statistic that, as far as I'm concerned, blows my mind. 90% of babies that are determined to possibly have Down syndrome when they do that test are aborted. They're killed. They're murdered because the parents won't take the responsibility of the burdens that descend on them for taking care of a beautiful child who has Down syndrome. Is there something wrong with a society like that? Morally, ethically, wrong with it, so that all the rest of it is understandable. All the rest of this crazy stuff that we deal with, changing people's genders, mutilating kids, having drag queens come into schools and teach them. Do you understand this? We got rid of God and we don't care about human life. We think we're in charge of human life. Gosh, this goes back to the first book of Genesis. You're not. You have to bow down and respect human life. %90 of parents who are faced with the choice of bringing up a Down syndrome child kill it because they can't deal with the problems it might create for the poor little assholes.
Well,
and you want to know what's wrong with us?
I actually just wanted to come in and on a different note, coming back to elections, in Nevada, there was a data leak and the Secretary of State's office apparently accidentally sent partial results to news outlets before polls closed, which is illegal and sparked controversy, apparently.
So what happened?
The Secretary of State's office, I guess like the law is probably stated that they have to wait until after the polls close to report results. For
I would think so.
And they, I guess, sent it out early, and Yeah, now that's the controversy. That's new. That's like just developing. I'm not actually sure beyond that. Much more beyond that.
Well, we're going to be back tomorrow night. I went way over tonight because there's no basketball game. I always like you to watch Dr. Maria because she's smarter than all of us. She wasn't on tonight. And I thought I could get away with a big extra America's Mayor Live.
Yeah, this was great. It's
Football-
always good to go
football
late once in a
time.
while.
So I hope soccer time. Ted, do we call it football yet?
No, it's still soccer.
My son says you don't submit to that, but I'll
Football.
see. If he's changed his mind, I may have to change.
I'll be the token guy that says football. So we got.
You like that sport?
It's kind of
That little kicking around with your feet.
I like it. Well,
and then
come on,
making-
don't be
making-
ragging on the world.
making believe you were injured.
Let's talk about Sticker Mule with the
Stickermule.com.
Slash-
Man, I went on it to get some stuff the other day. I hope I used my code. Stickermule.com/Rudy. You get all kinds of patriotic stuff. Now, here's the important thing. You can start a business. You can be a patriotic vendor. You can tell all your neighbors you're a patriotic vendor. Isn't that nice?
get some stickers, some
Stickers,
Other
banners,
apparel.
flags,
right before July 4th.
like what you see behind me here. Show. Look at that. Look, there they are. Look. We got all kinds of stuff. We got a couple we're going to show you later. We got a beautiful Rudy, thank you,
Yeah.
Mayor, thank you, Patriot thing here. Right?
Yeah, we got to show all that off.
And then we got another one with thank you, God,
And
which we're going to
Jesus.
put up. We
And
got all
Jesus.
kinds of stuff for the 4th of July and for the 250th anniversary. So this is a time to really, now, if you want to make a little money, which is completely American, it's like in The Godfather. I know The Godfather is a bad book, but it has a lot of American stuff in it, where the guy at the head of the table says, after all, we're not communists. We can make money. Isn't that nice? We're not communists. We can make money. Like we can be free. We can use our own ingenuity, which is why we're going to defeat them. But, okay, what else do we have to cover? I think we've covered everything. If we haven't,
That's most of it, other than just, well, keep checking
anything
the
more
feed.
on the U.S. counterattack?
We'll keep looking for more on
Yeah,
that.
and keep
Graham-
checking the feed for election results too. We're going to be posting some results. If anything interesting else comes in,
Graham Plattner has one, but that was kind of
Who?
foregone. Graham Plattner?
Well, yeah, but he was running against nobody, right?
Yeah.
So the Democrats have now nominated an official Nazi for the United States Senate in Maine. Correct?
correct.
We got a guy with a Nazi thing, not just a Nazi SS thing here, right here. For 15, 16 years. And worse than that, he lies about it. He knew it was a Nazi symbol. Now he says it wasn't. His girlfriend has a container at the time, contemporaneous note that says that he described it to her as a Totenkopf, a Nazi SS symbol. She couldn't possibly have known that without knowing it from the liar and the Nazi. Meanwhile, he abused her. He threw her out of cars. He kept grabbing her very roughly by the shoulder and pulling her, intimidating her, yelling at her, screaming at her, and telling her how much he loved raping people. He's the same guy who said he joined the army, so don't give him great credit for his military service, in order to kill people. He also demeaned several of his buddies who died in the military or who got injured in the military and got a Purple Heart. They didn't deserve it. He never did shit.
Mm-hmm.
He's also never worked in his life, and he's supported by his parents. He's a complete reject. You got to look at him and you can figure out he's a disaster. And he's not even qualified for the House of Representatives, much less the Congress. I mean, House of Representatives, you got several people like him, but
Right.
in the Senate, a senator from Maine, are you crazy? And there are people, as we know from last weekend, that support him.
Right.
So this is going to be a tough battle because as far as we could tell, and you guys tell me, there isn't the level of enthusiasm for Nancy Collins.
Susan Collins.
Yeah,
exactly.
That you need.
Perhaps. Well, I didn't. Yeah.
What did you think?
No, there was not a single enthusiastic Collins supporter, but there were Collins supporters, and there were a lot. There was anti-Plattner energy, but there was also a lot of pro-Plattner energy, and
Well,
I would
it'll
say it
tighten.
outnumbered.
It'll tighten as we get closer to election day. I would say Susan Collins.
But
She could survive this.
In addition to going after him negatively, don't you think we have to create some kind of a positive
Yes.
feeling for her and Trump?
Yes.
Because some of it is Trump too. Some of the people you interviewed are pro-Nazi because they're anti-Trump.
Yep. Oh
And
yeah.
Trump's not going to get them back.
That was huge.
You're not going to get them back. They're gone. So you do have to get.
Yeah,
the
but we
Trump-
don't wanna
I don't
lose-
know. Susan
I
Collins.
agree with you,
You
but
gotta
we
get
don't
the
want to
pro-Trump
lose other
people.
people.
You
We
gotta
don't
get
want to
the
lose other people.
You got to get pro-Trump people out for Susan Collins. In that case, I do think she can survive.
Well, but you see, that's the biggest lift ever, right? Because she
Yeah.
kind of sucks,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. But
we
she's
gotta-
just
we
better
gotta-
than Plattner.
The
right?
pro-Trump people say we don't really want to vote for her because she's a traitor.
Yeah.
So that's not. So they'll vote for her, but that's not exactly enthusiasm.
Right. So
Yeah.
you got to get the president.
But it's also, you have to remember the realities of that we're in Maine at the same time, and it's purple to say the least.
You just don't think there's a lot of enthusiasm in Maine?
Well, no. If anything, the opposite. I just think that there's just a lot of bluish tendencies, and it's hard to put it on a spectrum,
It used to be all red.
except the urbans,
Yeah.
urban center.
Well, that only started in the last 20 or 30 years. But it used to be a big Republican, like not 80% state.
I got those vibes when I was driving through the country.
Yeah. But here's what I'm worried about. Modern elections get determined a lot by enthusiasm because the turnout is always very, and this is a non-presidential year. So the turnout will be down. So enthusiasm really pushes an election. Right now, he has the enthusiasm among the crazy people who support this Nazi.
Mm-hmm.
And she has only negative support. It's we hate him, or maybe we like Trump,
right.
but
It's
I
not a
don't.
great
I don't
spot to
feel
be in.
any. Gee, we really need Nancy Collins,
Susan Collins.
Susan Collins.
Which is, again,
Right.
another reason.
Another problem, right? I think of her
Yeah.
as Nancy. I don't
Yeah.
know why.
Pelosi, she does kind of give
Nancy,
me Pelosi
yeah, I
vibes.
guess.
Oh, no, never mind. Love Susan Collins. Go Susan Collins.
Nobody's enthusiastic about Susan.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh.
But
it's
don't
funny.
you need that ultimately in a tough election to win?
Depending
How
on
do
the
you
numbers, right?
create that for somebody that's been around this long and doesn't have?
I was trying to think of something she could do.
I don't know what she could do. I mean, is this a campaign where you just have to beat him down, Ted?
You gotta expose the negatives that work on him.
And it doesn't matter if there's any positives on her or enough positive.
Well, and actually, let
You
me
gotta trust her to get.
What do you think, Steve? You
So-
think we can create some positives for her?
Maine is almost a small enough state to where a real grassroots organization, like a ground game, can actually make a lot of difference. And so I can see if Susan Collins can put together a solid ground game, and then
a tour. She's got to do a statewide listening
but then
tour.
I'm
She's
also
gotta
going to have
do
to,
a-
I don't know exactly how the ballots are treated in Maine and like the various ways that absentees are treated and these voting things, but you need to have an apparatus in place that's able to make sure you get the most of those as possible.
Right.
Absentee chase, people who use data to find your voters and make sure that they vote for you, right? So a good ground game can actually do a lot in Maine.
Albeit a small sample. You didn't find a Susan Collins voter.
I did. We found voters. We found Susan Collins.
You found people that can vote against him.
Yeah, they were like, oh, Collins.
You're not going to vote. Did you find like, I'm going to vote for Susan Collins because she's been such a great senator?
No, I didn't see that at all.
And then you found Trump people who she's got to rely on.
Yes.
Who felt a little bit like she's a traitor.
Yes, but they
may vote for her.
They seemed reliable enough. The Trump people
may vote for her. We can get them over the line.
They know the stakes, right?
Without enthusiasm. On the other hand, the Nazi has enthusiasm.
We're going to be walking slowly to the polls and voting.
No, I think we have to figure. I think between now and election day, we got to figure out some kind of enthusiasm for Susan Collins. And I have to start remembering it's not Nancy Collins, it's Susan Collins.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Right. That's right.
That would help. So thank you very much for bearing with us, if you have, for this long. We really appreciate it. We want to ask you, please, I always have to ask you to pray for the people of Ukraine. They are fighting a valiant battle against a maniac, Putin, and are upholding, not Zelensky. I have no regard really for Zelensky. They're upholding the values of Western civilization for us. So are the people in Israel. Pray for them, huh? And the people that are fighting so hard, very quietly, trying to fight back in Iran. And of course, pray for us, the American people. And our president, who has to make so many difficult decisions. The most important thing we could do, beyond everything else I've talked about, is bring God back into America. And we'll spend time talking about that, because it's really important that we figure out ways to bring God back into America. Even if you don't believe in God, you got to understand, as many agnostics have, a society that believes in God is much more moral, much stronger, and much more able to defend its values. So this is a very sort of utilitarian view. I don't have it, but you should. You're better off to believe in God than not if you want a good society. You're better off to believe in God, because if you don't, I don't know where the hell you're going to go after you die. So thank you very much for listening to us. We'll see you tomorrow night. Come back to us tomorrow at 7 on Lindell TV, and of course at 8 on America's Mayor Live. We love you. We support you. We love America. And of course, all of us together, those of you who remain with us particularly, let's all, wherever you are, let's all yell out, God bless America!
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,